9 out of 10 families, or 90%, will lose everything within 3 generations. And 70% of families will lose everything in just 2 generations. My own family has sadly suffered that cause. My great-grandfather was a multi-millionaire back in Cyprus, which is where I'm from.
Welcome in the podcast, people. Today we have a special guest who's Nicolas Charge. He's the CEO and founder of Dante. Nicolas, please, how are you and tell us more about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for that kind introduction. My name is Nicolas Charles, author of 2 books on generational wealth, and now the co-founder of Dante, the wealth tech platform that helps families retain their wealth for multiple generations. We are the digital operating system based on the 10 pillars of generational wealth that you need to implement to successfully achieve legacy for multiple generations.
That's amazing. And do you guys help any kind of family, or do you guys help the wealthy or the more of normal people to get them started into the generational wealth?
So you're right in a sense that generational wealth obviously begins with family. And that's when people start thinking about generational wealth and succession planning. If you're running a business, I do have a family. I'm married with 2 lovely children. I've also suffered what is termed, it's an American term called shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves within 3 generations. By the time my father was 8 years old, the entire wealth had gone. So my father, instead of being 3rd generation wealth, what ended up becoming 1st generation, had to restart the cycle of wealth from the absolute beginning.
So I can understand that you're taking this to heart because it is something related to you and that you feel very personalized with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen families implode on a professional level as well. It got me fascinated on the subject of generational wealth. I wanted to know how big the problem was. So yes, my own family suffered from it. I've seen my own clients suffer. And I wanted to know how big this was. So I ended up interviewing over 100 professional advisors. So I wanted to see how big this problem was. I'm talking accountants, lawyers, bank managers, trustees, fiduciaries, and each and every one of them came back with a selection of nightmare stories, whether it's from their own client base or even their own friends and family that have all suffered some sort of issue which caused generational financial failure.
That's horrible. And it's something that I've been researching in the past month. I've heard that in order to pass wealth generation from generation is extremely hard. By the time that the family reaches the 3rd generation, the money is all gone, or it's either there is very low of it. So I'm shocked about it. And also, I think that is something that is fascinating because in order to pass generation wealth, I think there is a lot of things that has to get in together, like education, having the uncomfortable conversation about a comfortable conversation that goes beyond the founder. If the founder is no longer there, what is going to happen? Who's going to take charge? Is it the oldest one? Is it the little one? Is it the one who has the best quality? Everything varies.
Yeah, the problem with generational wealth is that there's a lot of emotion attached to it. And the only way you can deal with conflict is to have a plan in place during your lifetime. Most people make this false assumption that because everything is okay today, it will always be okay in the future, and park any plans to one side. But guess what? Families argue. How you get over that particular argument or conflict depends on you as a family and how united you are and whether you have that trust in place. Now, the only way you can build trust, especially when it comes to money, is if you have regular communication within the family dynamic. Now, I've seen many occasions whereby a family, the principal, whether it's male or female, the patriarch or the matriarch, their sole focus is on preserving money for tax purposes. So they'll plan their estate, it's called estate planning, focusing to save money, to make sure that the estate doesn't get hammered with taxes.
Yeah.
So they'll create tax efficient structures. They'll have maybe some trusts in place, some wills in place, which is fantastic for tax. Yet they will not communicate their plans with the actual beneficiaries. And then once they pass away and the will is read out, guess what? That person who created that structure is no longer alive. And now it's left to the beneficiaries to decide amongst themselves Why was I given the house and not the business? Oh, my sister's or my brother's done something to influence our father or our mother. And it just all collapses like a pack of cards.
Absolutely.
No parent ever has children so they can end up going to court with each other. No parent has children that they hope will end up having some sort of dysfunction or some sort of addictive behavior, whether it's drugs, alcohol, prostitution, or gambling.
That would be a nightmare.
But why does it happen? And why does it happen so often? We see time and time again people receiving huge amounts of wealth and not prepared to receive that wealth. So this is where the differentiation between estate planning, which is all about conserving your estate for taxes, and legacy planning, which facilitates successful generational wealth transfer. Because wealth is much more than just financial capital.
Absolutely.
If you look at all the professional advisors, 95%, even 99% of professional advisors, your accountants, your lawyers, your trustees, your bank managers, your wealth advisors, their sole focus is preserving the financial capital. But the reason why families fail is because of the people, not because of the money. Yet how many people are out there helping the family to conserve the money? How many are dealing with the emotional conflicts that arise as a result of receiving capital? Very few. And don't forget, my background is accountancy and tax. So I'm not criticizing professional advisors, yet we've all been trained to look after the money.
Yeah.
Whether it's for tax purposes or growing the wealth from a wealth manager. But how many advisors are out there who've been trained to look after the actual family dynamic, to deal with conflict resolution within the family? These are the problems that happen time and time again, to create a plan, a structure that every member agrees to. Because every family is different. There's no one size fits all.
Would you say that Dante specializes in creating wealth, or just learning how to preserve it and pass it on? Or is it a combination of both?
It was created for the sole purpose of wealth retention. It doesn't create wealth. It's a platform, a hub for you to run your wealth off. I call it the 10 pillars of generational wealth that you need to implement in order to facilitate successful generational wealth transfer. So we've built, out of the 10, we've built 6. So your assets, your documentation, your advisors, your structures, your sustainable philanthropy, and your governance. We're a startup, so we're looking to expand more. We're looking to facilitate the 4 key pillars: health, vision, communication, and education. And they're the 4 key pillars that retain all your wealth. So what we're looking to build out now with Dante is to create an education piece to train the next generation how to become good beneficiaries.
So it's sort of financial literacy.
It's financial literacy and dealing with the emotions that come about when inheriting wealth. I've spoken to a lot of wealth advisors who deal with families and family conflict. It's amazing how much of an emotional burden is transferred to the next generation, not prepared to receive wealth. There's a lot of beneficiaries who feel very guilty when it comes to receiving money, like they don't believe they deserve it. If you inherit wealth and your mindset is, I don't deserve this money, what are you going to do with it? You're going to get rid of it as quick as you can.
Talking about deserving money, I just read an article 2 days ago. A woman from France, she inherited 27 millions, but she felt like she don't deserve that money. So what she did with her wealth is she took all those 27 million and spread it in foundation to help people, which I find is very beautiful to do. And then also she said that we need to tax more the rich because they are the one accumulating the wealth without really spending it to people. But I think this is another conversation because not all rich people keep their money for themselves. A lot of them educate, they send their money to association to help the planet. So it's absolutely something that is very crazy about.
Sustainable philanthropy is key when it comes to retaining wealth. The giving of the money is actually a core component of creating great relationships within the family dynamic, because what keeps the family together is to create a purpose greater than the individual needs of each person.
Absolutely.
The way you can create that is through sustainable philanthropy, something that inspires the family, brings the family together, especially those individuals who are not involved in the family business. They may not be involved in the investments, but it's the glue that keeps the family together. And generational wealth is about relationships
Absolutely.
predominantly. So if you want to retain the wealth, that's why it's such a core component, is to have something that inspires the family to want to generate more money so they can give more money away.
If you had to describe your leadership style in one word, what would it be and why?
One word to describe my leadership. That is a very difficult question to answer. I'm struggling to find a one word. Empathetic. Yes, we're a tech platform and SaaS, but when you're dealing with families, you're in the business of relationships.
Yeah.
And a lot of professional advisors fail to understand that what it really comes down to is you're dealing with people, and that you're not in the money business. You're actually in the relationship business. And that's what Dante's all about. It's about relationship. We're trying to facilitate better relationships in order for those families to be able to retain wealth for multiple generations. Wealth is well-being. It's not necessarily just about the money, about the financial capital.
The tool that we use to create the life that we want, not for ourselves, but for our family. We create our environment with it.
If you want your family to retain the financial capital, it's absolutely imperative that you transfer all the wealth to next generation. That's the human and intellectual capital. You know, the stories behind the assets, the story behind how mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, whatever it is, how they make their money. What was their story? Where did they come from? Challenges. If you can successfully transfer that to the next generation, then they are much more ingrained to be able and prepared to keep the financial capital.
It's a preparation phase. So concerning the industry trends, with AI and automation evolving so rapidly right now, where do you see the biggest opportunity and the biggest risk for service-based companies?
That's a really hot topic at the moment. Now, is AI going to replace humanity? It depends on how much we give our power away. I think AI complements what we're trying to achieve. It really does. At the moment where we are with AI, ChatGPT, for example, it processes data significantly faster than any human being on the planet. It's a research tool. But are we supposed to overly rely on AI? I think that's very dangerous. But at the same time, it will replace those tedious admin tools. I use AI all the time, and we're implementing AI in Dante. If you're going to have all your data in one place, does it not make sense to have a system that looks at your data all the time and gives you feedback, flags up things like risk analysis and gap analysis regarding your investments, your assets?
Absolutely.
I think it would be silly not to have that in place. So AI provides huge opportunities to mankind, but at the same time, if we're not careful, it's very dangerous. We're at the same stage now, and I said this when I was speaking at a Jersey Finance conference. We are at the same space today where we were 20 years ago with the internet.
Absolutely.
I'm old enough to remember life without the internet, but when the internet came in, the same questions were being asked. Do we see it as an opportunity or do we see it as a threat?
Yeah.
And we clearly know there's good things about the internet and obviously bad things about the internet. And it's going to be exactly the same argument with AI. You know, that AI can be misused. AI will be used, sadly, by those who have criminal orientation. You can find out anyone's background if you've got enough data on that person utilizing AI. And you can copy their ID. There's a lot of scary stuff out there.
Absolutely, but
it doesn't mean we should ignore AI completely, because AI is here to stay. And it's those businesses that utilize AI in a smart manner who are the ones who are going to become the next Amazon, the next Facebook, the next Google. And I guarantee they'll all be utilizing AI in some form.
Absolutely, because even with AI right now, they are trying to minimize it and control the bad behavior that it could have. Because recently I did a study by trying to see with my colleague what AI can do actually. And we were asking questions that could be problematic. And the AI was restricting us by saying that it doesn't allow to do so because it could be a problem for the others. So I think that we're still going the right direction while minimizing what AI could do as a threat
You say that, there was someone sent me a video whereby they asked ChatGPT what ChatGPT would do if it wanted to take over, what AI would do to take over the world. The response was scary and quite accurate. I'm going to paraphrase here, but essentially AI was saying, I'm going to slowly ensure that I become so over-reliant that you can't live your life without me. I'm not going to take over, right? You're going to give me the world.
That's very powerful.
It is very powerful, but at the end of the day, as human beings, we need to be responsible and take control of our own lives. If you're going to give away all your power to a system or a computer, don't complain. What AI will never be able to take over is the emotional trait of human beings.
Absolutely.
You can train an AI and ask them a basic question, how are you? And it could probably be trained to give you some sort of answer. But at the same time, it will never be a human being. So we've got to be really careful with AI that we use it to complement what we're trying to achieve in this small world that we live in, as opposed to allowing AI to do everything for us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you give up everything to AI and you end up doing nothing and AI does everything for you, then what's the point of living?
Absolutely. You're going to be a lazy shit. And it's not going to be anything good for us. So I think that is something that has,
But as humans, we're going to learn anyway. We're going to learn, we're going to evolve, and AI is going to be a key component of our lives in the same way that we adapted with the internet. So in the same way, we're going to adapt with quantum computing, which is coming and evolving as well very quickly.
It's a question of adapt. If you can adapt to it, you're going to stay behind. There's nothing that we can really do about it. It's either you adapt or you stay in the past and be irrelevant.
If you don't adapt, you're going to die. As a business, if you don't adapt with AI and don't utilize AI, then you are going to die as a business.
Absolutely.
And you're going to be one of those big companies that failed to move with the times.
Especially with the automation that are there, you will not need a lot of employee to do what you have to do. It's taking the job of other people if they don't find a way to become irreplaceable in today's age.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like I said, if you're involved in admin or a factory worker, guess what? You're being replaced now as we speak.
Yeah.
Robots and automation are dealing. Amazon was utilizing robots for all their packaging and most of the packaging and deliveries. Absolutely. Because they want to be faster. They want to make more money. Robots work 24/7. Human beings don't.
They don't need rest.
They don't need a pay rise. They don't complain. They don't answer back. They don't need holidays.
They don't need anything. So what would be the biggest challenge you're currently facing inside your company or your team?
So right now, I'm going to say the phrase that virtually every startup talks about and complains about, and that's capital. Every startup, especially in the tech world, you need to raise capital, and it's exceptionally painful and tedious running around asking people to invest in your business in order to grow. But it's the life of a tech startup. The other frustration, it's a sharp learning curve, especially what we're doing, because it is quite niche. We want to be different. We don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. What's the point in that? That doesn't inspire me. I want to do something that no one's done, and that's digitize generational wealth. Sure. And that comes with its challenges, because a tool or skeleton that you look back on and say, oh, we'll just take what company A is doing and tweak it. I want to create a blue water strategy that no one's currently involved in and solve the problem that no one else has. And that is that 9 out of 10 families lose everything within 3 generations.
That's amazing. And how is that challenge affecting your growth or client experience right now about capital?
The issue we have is being able to communicate the problem, differentiate ourselves from the market, and getting people's mindset to understand what it takes to retain wealth for multiple generations. It's not just about analyzing the financial capital. There are many players in the market, especially with quoted assets. Whilst that's an aspect of what we're trying to do, we're trying to communicate where we are going as a company, where we currently are now. If we could document everything today, yes, you'll get a much clearer picture. Yes, you'll have a system in place that you can share with your advisors and family, which is what we've built today. It's a beautiful, simple tool and works very well. But at the same time, look where we're going. We're bringing in education. We're bringing in AI. We're bringing legacy GPT that no one else is dealing with.
Yeah.
what the 10 pillars of generational wealth that every family needs in order to create a successful generational wealth strategy.
Is there anything you had to stop recently because it is no longer working in today's environment concerning your company?
Yeah, so the problem, and I've seen this from other startups, is getting a clear understanding of who your ideal customer is.
Yeah.
They call it the client avatar. The mistake we made is that we initially thought that our client avatar were the big family offices. We spent 3-4 months speaking with lots of family offices, trying to pitch Dante. And it took us a bit of time, but we realized that they're not our ideal client, because what we're trying to do is digitize the family office, make them more efficient. Now, if you can imagine a family office, it's got lots of people doing multiple services on behalf of a family. And we're saying you could do this a lot more efficiently if you utilize our system.
That's for sure.
So I took a step back. Wait a second. I'm pitching to the decision makers who are potentially going to be made redundant if they utilize our system. They're not going to take it up for obvious reasons.
No, that's for sure.
No, of course not. So we had to pivot. It took us a bit of time, and we've recreated a brand new strategy now. So we're targeting the mid-tier millionaires. Those who are a sweet spot, those who are worth between $5 and $30 million.
And what that transition looks like? Is it an easy pivot or it's a painful adjustment, we'll just say?
No, it's relatively straightforward, because they're moving from no systems in place to an effective system that digitizes everything for them. Yes, we've got to wean them off spreadsheets. So the spreadsheet is still our number one competitor, believe it or not, and then show them the direction of the company in terms of what we're bringing in that will help facilitate generational wealth for them. It's a lot of conversations, but it's something that we love doing. We're super excited about it.
Great. And how are you guys acquiring your clients? So how do you go in order to get the client acquisition?
So you'd be amazed. There's 2.08 million people that fit our bracket globally. That's quite a nice customer base for us to target. You got two options. One, you either approach every single family, which is exhausting, or you go after the people that advise those families. It tends to be the wealth advisors, or advisors who have a portfolio of clients whose life will be made easier if they use our system. And of course, their clients will appreciate what we're trying to do for them. And it's a warm introduction.
100%.
So we've secured deals with two of the largest networks in India who have a portfolio of over 10,000 wealth advisors.
Wow. Okay. That's not small.
No, that's not small. It's a lot of work for us. And of course, it involves us educating the wealth advisors on how Dante works and how it will help them, and how it's important to introduce Dante to their clients, because it benefits their client, but also benefits the wealth advisor as well.
Absolutely. And in the current, what do you think separates the companies that are thriving from those that are just surviving?
Companies that survive are those that do something. They're involved in a market where there's way too much competition.
Yeah.
They'll hit a market and they're like, oh, I'm going to do what this other company does and I'll make it a little bit better. I'll give you a good example, solar panels. So there was this, and we're talking about probably 5-10 years ago, but there was this massive influx on environmental tech was the next big thing. Yeah. So you had a huge influx of companies utilizing solar panels, but there was no great differentiation between these businesses. Their pitch was, I'm as good as everyone, I'm 10% better than my competition. That's not exciting. That's not new.
Nah.
That's not great. And you see this time and time again with a lot of businesses out there. They don't clearly differentiate themselves, and the market doesn't actually understand, why should I choose you? If you don't have a clear definition of who you are, what you're trying to achieve, who your ideal customer is, then you will be stuck in survival mode.
And where do you think your company stands on that spectrum, and why?
So we are the only digital-based company that facilitates generational wealth utilizing the 10 pillars of generational wealth. The 10 pillars is something we created, and we differentiate ourselves because predominantly we look after not just the financial capital, but the wisdom behind the capital. And that's the direction we're going, which no one else is doing.
And if you since capital is a problem, if you had unlimited budget and time, What is the first thing you will change or automate in your business so you won't need manual work to do so?
We'll press fast forward on what we're currently doing. We'd hire the best AI developers in the world if we've got an unlimited budget and get them to create the AI tech we want within our company. We'll fast track the educational piece within our system to help train the next generation to become good beneficiaries. We want to bring about legacy GPT so that when the principal today can store their own personal stories, experiences, and expertise,
Yeah.
so that even say 50, 100 years after they've passed away, the next generation can tap into that knowledge.
Yeah. So do you think that you guys operate only in the space of Europe, or are you guys international?
I'll tell you where we are now. We're a London-based company, and our three biggest markets are London, or England, India, and Dubai.
That's great.
Dubai.
Yeah, there's a lot of people can hit over there.
There's
So
definitely, you'd be surprised. India is actually a much bigger market for us. There's a lot of wealth in India, a lot of new money,
a
a lot of new money. And now the mindset has shifted. India's in a huge, experiencing huge growth at the moment. They're literally on an acceleration curve.
Okay.
And the mindset now has shifted because towards estate and legacy planning. It's becoming almost a fashionable trait to start thinking about the next gen.
Absolutely.
How can I make my children, my grandchildren's life easier, better, so they don't have to go through the same hell that I went through?
This is where you come in and resolve that problem.
Exactly.
Where do you feel like you are over relying on manual work in your company?
You need developers in tech. That's where the manual work actually comes in. You've got to develop the tech in order for the tech to run on its own. And you're going to need support for that tech. So you can't wipe out humanity completely, because someone needs to develop the technology, even AI. There's human beings behind AI. Whilst it can run on its own and it constantly improves, someone has to program the AI in order for it to work.
Yeah. Have you tried automating before, or are you still exploring solution in seeing what you can dig into?
So what we really want, the sweet spot, will be to automate our sales. That's when you're flying as a business, but you need to create the systems for that. And that's what we're doing at the moment. So we want to create a system in place so that whoever we bring on board to sell Dante, for example, has a system that they can tap into so that everyone works in the same way.
Here is my final question. If we sat down again in 5 years, what would you hope to tell me you've accomplished so far?
I can tell you from now, we definitely want to expand in the United States. So the United States is the big ticket for us. Also probably North America, because Canada will be lovely as well. If we're in 5 years' time and I was speaking to you, I'll be telling you right here, right now, that we are the generational wealth platform that every wealthy family utilizes across the world.
So the number one internationally.
The only one.
What obstacle do you see standing in the way of that vision today? I would presume it's capital as well?
Yeah, it's capital. And right at the moment, the biggest obstacle is capital and to streamline our sales. You need to sell at the end of the day. A company without sales dies very quickly.
Okay, that's fantastic. I thank you a lot for jumping in, Nicholas. We're already at the end, and it has been very insightful, and the conversation was really awesome.
No, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
That's for sure. I was thinking about, actually, I'm forgetting my ideas.
I can't help you there. I'm not that good.
So once we finish the podcast series, I'll send you the summary with other results and insight, and we'll see in the next follow-up call if you're interested to see if we can actually help you, because we actually do AI as well and help leaders in the industry.
Sounds amazing. I would have to introduce you to my CTO because he's the tech genius behind our company. Let's continue the conversation.
That's awesome. I thank you very much for being here, Nicholas. I wish you all the best for the rest in your company, and hopefully everything will go smooth.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you. Have a nice day.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao.